Malaguena is one of those iconic Spanish flamenco guitar pieces that if you don't know it by name, you certainly know it when you hear someone play it. Now in today's video, I'm going to take you through a simple arrangement of this tune. You don't have to be a flamenco guitar player or a Spanish guitar player to be able to play this piece. Believe me, I'm not either of those things. But it's a really fun piece to play, and it's the arrangement I've created for you today is suitable for, early beginner finger pickers to intermediate finger pickers. I think you'll find there's something in it for everybody. It's fun to play. I'm going to play through it for you so you can hear it, and we're going to break each part down so that you can see exactly how it's put together and how to work on it so that you can play the piece. Before we get into it, if you could like this video right now, I'd really appreciate it. It pushes it out into the land of YouTube for other people to find. And if you haven't already and you like the content that I create each week and release each week, I'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel. Below this video, there is a link to a free workshop on how to back a singer on guitar, all sorts of cool melodic ideas that make backing a singer interesting, make arrangements interesting when doing that. So if you like this type of playing, it's not Spanish stuff, but it's chord melody, solo, fingerstyle sort of playing. If you like that, then you'll love that workshop. So check that out too. All right, let's get into today's video. So let's start with the introduction to this piece here. I created a short little introduction to lead us into the tune. I'll play it for you, then we'll come back and break it down. Okay, so in the introduction here, basically it's a series of E, F, E resolutions. E to F back down to E, using open strings to imply the chords more than anything. So we start here with an E chord. There's the F note to imply that switch to the F tonality, and then back to E again. Then we move up to another little E fragment. The A note implies the F chord, coming back to the E, so you hear that resolution again. Then we move up, E to the F, back to E, and then finally E up to the F note here, implying the F chord, and back, although I do play a little harmonic on the very last note there. So you're basically hearing a series of E to F resolutions ascending the fretboard. E, F, again. Okay, that's the introduction. Short and sweet, but sets us up nicely to go into the A section. So here's the A section of Malaguena. I'll play through it for you, then we'll come back and break it down. So the the A section is all about traveling from an E chord to an A minor back to an E chord, and Malaguena is in a 3/4 time, and we begin with just a bass line in this arrangement. As I say, you're going to find lots of different arrangements online that do all sorts of different things. There's a lot of artistic license you can take with this tune. So we start with just a basic bass line, outlining an E chord. We're just playing chord tones of E, E, G sharp, B, in a 3/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then it's changing to A minor. So we have a little descending line down A minor there. Coming down the key to outline the A minor chord. Then we're back to the E. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's the A minor. E. A minor. Okay, so that's what's happening for the first part of the A section. And then you do that a few times, and then you make this little climb up. And I would say there's a D minor chord being implied as we play the D, E, and F. And then what we do is we take that bass line that we just played and we move it up an octave. So we're playing it here. Right, that's the same bass line up an octave. We were playing it here before. Right? So you play it here. It's 3 times I think you play it. It's on the 3rd time that you climb up, and then it's straight into the same line, but it's up an octave. But you're probably looking at the tablature now and seeing that there is also an open E string being pedaled, being played between each of those notes of the melody here, like this. Okay, so that's a very Spanish sort of technique where you pedal the open E string, playing melodies on the lower strings below it. You definitely want to use your thumb for the melody here, both for the bass when the melody's in the bass, and when you move it up an octave, even though you're on higher strings, you still want to use your thumb, and then you can use your index, middle, or ring fingers, or any sort of combination really, to play that high E string. If you want an absolute, then use your thumb for the melody notes. Definitely do that, no matter what string they fall on, and then use your middle finger for the high E string. So that would sound like this. And it's doing the same thing the lower melody did. Plays 3 times, just the open E in between, and then it climbs up and we resolve to the E chord. So in the last time, you do this here, all on the 2nd string, and then the E chord. So it's a direct reflection, if you like, of the first time through, only instead of just playing it as a single note line in the bass, you're playing it up an octave with pedaled E notes in between for a very cool sound. So now we come to the B section. I'm going to play through it for you, so have a listen, then we'll come back and break it down. So the B section is where you get the most variation when you listen to different arrangements of Malaguena. People tend to take a bit of artistic license here, which is cool because it's a bit of a blank canvas. But the basic structure is kind of like the introduction. The introduction was in my arrangement, was a very short little insight into what the middle section, where we are now, the B section, is going. It's this E up to the F, back down to the E again. It's that sort of sound. So what we're doing in our arrangement here is we're first relaxing the time. We're not playing to a strict 3/4 time here. We're relaxing, playing more rubato, and we begin with a little melody line, which is just on the top string, open 1, 3, 1. So E, F, G, F, and then we strum E. Similar line on the 2nd string to go to F. There's our F chord, and then we resolve back to E, and we just do that again. So we've got the melody notes on top to the E, and these notes are leading to the F, and then back E chord. Now when you play this, feel free just to use your thumb for the whole thing to this point in time. You could just use your thumb if it feels easier. You've got time, because it's not a strict tempo. Okay, and then it just repeats. Okay, I tend to sort of use combinations of my index, middle and ring fingers for these notes. But that's a little bit more involved, and you don't have to do that. Okay, either way, you've got the same little 4-bar progression, and each line that follows the chord is all about getting back, or getting to the F or back to the E. So you've got this line, that's all about getting to E, but what follows is all about going to F. What follows there is about getting back to E, and then we repeat that. Then the next part of the B section is similar to the introduction. It's a little more extended, but it's got these little shapes, little double stops basically, that are implying chords, more or less E and F chords, as you move up and arriving at the 12th fret again there on the E chord. So I'm ascending and descending. Well, actually I'm descending first, then ascending, descending. So I'm separating the notes of the triad, or the dyad rather, and more or less alternating ascending with descending. So descending, ascending, and then descending, ascending, descending, ascending, descending, ascending, descending, ascending. It's hard to play and say, but when I put that together, and then down to the low E, harmonics there at the 12th fret. Okay, so that's setting us up to return to the A section. So then we return to the A section. It's a little bit different than the first A section, so I'm going to play it for you, then we'll come back and break it down. So in the A section, the second A section after the B that we just went through, we return to that same line that's moving through E and A minor, 2 bars on each chord. Now instead of starting on the lower bass strings for the melody, we are going to start where we left off in the A section, which is the melody on the higher strings and the high E in between. So this is the same as the second part of the first A section, and we climb up here. Okay, so nothing different there, but then we flip it around and now we go to the lower melody on the lower strings. But instead of just playing it as a single bass line like so, we're going to pluck open second and third, the first and second strings in between each of the melody notes in the bass here. So instead of just this, like we did in the first A section, we get, okay, and we work our way through, and we climb up here in a moment, and we can bring it to a close there on the E major chord. That's the second A section. So it's flipping around the first A section by playing the melody on the higher strings first with the pedal note in between, then the melody on the lower strings, but instead of just the lower string, it's also plucking the top 2 open strings, which you can do with your index and middle fingers or your middle and ring fingers. Either one of those combinations is fine, as long as your thumb is playing this melody throughout. So when I put that section there again, so we're on the higher strings with the pedal E note, and then climbing up, and then straight into the lower bass. third time, and then we climb up, and we finish the piece there. If you like this video, you'll love this ebook complete with video examples called 10 melodic fingerpicking patterns you can learn in 10 minutes or less. Do you struggle to make the fingerpicking patterns you learn on guitar sound like music? Perhaps it's because you believe in one or more of these fingerpicking pattern myths. 1. You need to know a lot of patterns to have your fingerpicking sound musical. 2. Only advanced fingerpicking patterns sound musical. Easy patterns are too basic to sound any good. Or 3. There is a magic pattern out there somewhere that once found will finally have your fingerpicking sound the way you want it to. None of these myths are true. This is because fingerpicking patterns alone are not musical. They're technical. It's what you do with the patterns that will determine how musical they sound. In this ebook, you learn how to make the most boring fingerpicking patterns sound amazing instantly. Plus, the simple trick to make advanced fingerpicking patterns easier to play, and the thumb and one finger trick that's so simple and will have your fingerpicking sounding pro in no time. Click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook complete with video examples, 10 melodic fingerpicking patterns you can learn in 10 minutes or less. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments below this video what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see in future videos. I read the comments, I love to hear your suggestions. There are many great suggestions that do become videos on the channel, so don't be shy, drop us a line. If you like this video, then hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I've released a new video. This is Simon Candy from acousticguitarlessonsonline.net. As always, I really do appreciate you sticking with me and watching this video to this point in time. It's always appreciated, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.